They completely caved on academic receivership. What are you talking about? What kind of question is this? Once a college, an independent private institution of higher education, decides to cave to the administration's incredibly unreasonable demands, including but not limited to academic receivership, where they get to choose who the new deans are, okay, like an outside force that will then control what is being taught at that college campus, you are no longer a real college. Okay, let's listen to Columbia students talking about Trump's attacks on academic freedom. Now, this is interesting to talk about, and I will be talking about it before we get into the new email saga that's going on, by the way. Members of Trump's National Security Council, including National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, has conducted government business over personal Gmail accounts, according to documents reviewed by the Washington Post. Interviews with 3 U.S. officials. We'll obviously talk about that as well. Fantastic stuff, by the way. Fantastic. You fuck with Booker's legendary run or nah? I think it's hype. No, I don't think it's hype. I think it's nothing. That's what I think. We'll see. I mean, I'm not going to discount it. At the end of the day, it's good that they're doing anything, I guess. And I'm glad that people are excited. But if you think it's anything beyond like a performance, if you think it's anything beyond theater, I don't know what to tell you. It's like a filibuster is supposed to be directed towards a filibuster is a hurdle, okay? It's a procedural hurdle placed upon the passage of a bill, okay? That's what a filibuster is. They're not doing that right now. There's no bill that they're launching a procedural hurdle against. There was an opportunity for them to do that. There was an opportunity for them to do that a couple weeks ago when Chuck Schumer whipped votes to do a cloture, to vote for a cloture, so that there was no filibuster opportunity for the continuing resolution that passed that gave Trump the opportunity to legally undermine a lot of the federal funds that were going to key mental health initiatives and the like. That is where they were supposed to filibuster. That was the expectation. That's what I wanted them to do. They didn't do that. And they're simply just like taking up space at this moment. I wish they had done this back then. Then it would have been infinitely more impactful. I would have been super on board. I'm still on board with what they're doing, but make no mistake. This is symbolic. It is not dissimilar to like Nancy Pelosi taking a performative knee, wearing the kente cloth in the aftermath of the George Floyd murder. It's PR. It's PR in the right direction. It's I guess, good starting point. But I need you to understand that there's a reason why they're doing it now rather than 2 weeks ago when this would have been incredibly effective. You understand?
What is it like on campus?
So to say that campus is charged right now would be kind of an understatement.
Yeah.
There's a lot of division, a lot of chaos. The kind of atmosphere is defined by paranoia, I would say. Everybody is afraid of other students, whether or not they're going to get doxxed, whether or not, ICE is going to show up at their dorm hall, and whether or not the administration is going to be able to stand up for them at the end of the day.
You're involved with campus journalism, right?
Yes, I'm the editor for the Columbia Political Review, which is our largest project in political opinion journalism on campus. We're not a newspaper, but we're just basically a venue for any students. We've got a staff of 220 to share their opinions, to share their commentary. And yeah, that mission's absolutely been threatened by what's going on.
Are people freaking out on staff?
Yeah, absolutely. Literally 10 minutes ago, I got an email from one of our former writers, an alumni, not a current writer.
Oh, wow.
Who wanted to have all of her articles taken offline because she's threatened because she's an international worker now. And that's not new. It's something that people have been trying to do ever since doxing became a problem on campus, removing articles about Gaza. But it's, I mean, I've gotten at least 5 of these emails in the past week.
And is it about Gaza, or is it just about political dissent generally?
It's definitely about political dissent generally. But the reality is that nobody knows what's on the table because there's been absolutely no transparency in any of the deportation processes or just what demands the Trump administration will be willing to accept capitulation on and restore our funding.
So this is presumably, you know, driven by the protests here at Columbia over Gaza. But you're suggesting that the lens, the aperture, could widen to include anything from trans rights to, you know, DEI. Do you think the university would capitulate on those topics? I mean, do you think that there's a red line for them?
I'm not sure. I think when you're threatening taking...
The answer is no. There is no red line. It's over. There is no red line. They completely caved on academic receivership. What are you talking about? What kind of question is this? Once a college, an independent private institution of higher education, decides to cave to the administration's incredibly unreasonable demands, including but not limited to academic receivership, where they get to choose who the new deans are, okay? Like an outside force that will then control what is being taught at that college campus. You are no longer a real college. This is exactly what they did in Nazi Germany as well. It's over. It's over. It's quite literally thought policing, okay? Ironically enough, the very same people that constantly go, oh, it's 1984, George Orwell, you're trying to do mind control, it's fucking bullshit, blah, blah, blah. All these people that say that when someone goes, hey, man, maybe you shouldn't say the N-word, okay? Those people are literally looking at the government doing that and going, hell yeah, we want more. Or they're probably oblivious to it. That's it. They're doing it at the Smithsonian. They're doing this to Harvard. They're doing this to every college campus right now. Harvard quietly went to the administration when they saw what they were doing to Columbia, what the Trump administration was doing to Columbia, revoking $400 million in grants as a threat to make Columbia concede to their insane demands, which Columbia happily conceded to, mind you. Okay? Harvard went to the administration quietly and said, we will work with the anti-Semitism task force. And in the process, Harvard actually fired one of their tenured professors. Here it is from the American Prospect on March 31st. Today on tap, it's a law school faculty shames the university's general strategy of appeasement. On Saturday, 82 members of Harvard's law school teaching faculty out of 118 sent an open letter to Harvard law students warning of the dire threats to civil liberties and the rule of law. The letter in part said the rule of law is imperiled when the government leaders single out lawyers and law firms and retribution. This is a separate issue as well. This is a separate issue. Trump has also been going after law. Trump has been directly going after law firms as well. And he has gotten a lot of capitulation from the law firms as well. Now, ironically, Harvard talked about how the administration is threatening law firms and legal clinics for their lawyers' pro bono work or prior government service, relent on those arbitrary threats, punish people for lawfully speaking on matters of public concern. Meanwhile, Harvard as an institution of higher education, turned around and fired a important, I forget what he's a Turkish dude. I forget what his name is right now. Columbia forced Catherine Frank, a tenured professor at the law school, into retirement due to her pro-Palestinian stances. Never mind the fact that she was its most famous professor in legal academics in the United States. Jamal Kafadar is the name. Jamal Kafadar. Okay. Harvard dismisses leaders of Centers for Middle Eastern Studies. Jamal Kafadar was dismissed by interim Harvard Dean of Social Science David M. Cutler, faculty leaders for the Center for Middle Eastern Studies on Wednesday, according to a faculty member familiar with the situation. The reason why they did this is because they didn't like what he had to say. The CMES director, professor of Turkish studies, Jamal Kafadar, and his associate director, history professor Rosie Bashir, both were forced to leave their posts, according to the faculty member. Global health professor Salman Keshavji, the center's interim director, while Kafadar was on leave, will continue to hold his post. The departure comes after CMES has repeatedly faced public criticism from Harvard affiliates who have alleged that some of the center's programming has been anti-Semitic and has failed to represent Israeli perspectives. These are the nation's top elite institutions. This is where the next crop of society's elites are learning information and will inevitably become people in positions of power. And in that aspect, they're supposed to be bastions of liberalism, bastions of learning the truth about the world, okay? Protecting the liberal attitude. And yet here they are saying even a little bit of criticism of Israel, because it is necessary to understand the truth, whether you are going to become anti-Israel or pro-Israel after that does not matter. Like, you are learning the truth about Israel, that's too much. It's a bridge too far. We have to fire these people. This is outside pressure on education. It is insane. And these institutions are completely fucking caving. Amid a mounting pressure campaign by the Trump administration, Harvard's peers have begun shuttering or overhauling programs that the White House says require supervision. At Columbia University, where Trump administration announced $400 million in federal funding cuts, administrators acceded to White House demands to place the school's Middle Eastern Studies programs under closer administrative supervision. They are literally fucking firing deans and professors because those professors are like, yeah, Israel's an apartheid, which is objectively correct. Why? Like, how? How is this appropriate in any way, shape, or form? My Palestinian American friend, as a grad student at Columbia, has had her paper postponed from publication and her discussion series for teachers postponed. Both are on Palestine and education. She has no idea what to do now. Yeah. It is disgusting. It is disgusting to me. It is disgusting to anyone that cares about education, that cares about learning the truth. This is an administration that is actively suppressing the truth. They're disappearing students for saying the right thing about Israel. They're firing professors. This is crazy. July 2024 poll to academia on Israel, Gaza, page 9, Harvard Snap poll. It's additionally damning considering the massive amounts of wealth that these institutions have at their disposal. Okay? Harvard's endowment is $50 billion. What the fuck are you doing with those $50 billion fucking dollars if at this very moment you're not using that to defend your students and to defend the integrity of your academic institution? What good is the $50 billion endowment? You are just a gay hedge fund at that point. And when the administration comes down and says no more DEI, you are no longer a gay hedge fund. You're a homophobic hedge fund now. Yeah, the pressure from Trump was laughable. $400 million is about 2.7% of the endowment Columbia raises every year. They could afford to lose 5 times that money and appeal to donors to back free speech and independence, but no, it suits them to obey. Part of the reason why is because a lot of the big donors there are pro-Israel or have businesses in Israel. They have financial connections to Israel. Jewish or not Jewish doesn't fucking matter. Okay? That's it. That is part of the reason why they're like totally on board with this. Oh. Israel and Gaza. Do you approve or disapprove of the military action Israel has taken in Gaza? 76.9% of the academics polled on this said they disapprove of the military action Israel has taken on Gaza. Do you support or oppose college selling their investments in companies with ties to Israel, which is boycott, sanctions, and divestment? Almost 10% say strongly support. 11.5% say support. 18.85% say somewhat support. 16% say somewhat oppose. 14% say oppose. 14.6% say strongly oppose. 14.5% say not sure. Do you think students should have a say in what their college's financial endowments are invested in? 41.4% say yes. 41.4% say no. It's a direct 50-50 split. I mean, direct split there, perfect split, with 17% say not sure. Should your college or university boycott all collaborations, e.g. study abroad programs, authorships, visiting scholars, speakers with Israeli universities, and scholars at Israeli universities in response to Israeli military action in Gaza? 86% say no. This was in 2024. Lamau, at least half of those that disapprove of the actions don't support BDS. Liberalism in a nutshell. It's bad, but we shouldn't divest. Exactly. It's bad, but we shouldn't do anything about it. No way to create pressure upon Israel. We don't like what Israel's doing, but we also don't want to do anything about it. Why are your universities investing something? Aren't they supposed to educate, not do banking law? Brother, this is the United States of America. This is the most hyper-capitalist country on the planet. Every institution, every sector is a bank now, okay? Boeing is a bank. Harvard is a bank. Everyone is a fucking bank. No one just makes things anymore. No one provides services anymore. You only make things or provide services until you can turn into a bank. It's a valid question that you're asking, but the unfortunate reality is everything is a fucking bank. That's it. There's an argument that boycotting Israeli academic institutions hurts science. What do you think? Yeah, I don't agree with that. There's an argument that boycotting apartheid South African academics hurts science. They don't have any issues boycotting fucking Russian academics. They didn't have a single issue boycotting Russia across the board. They divested from Russia like that. Why is it that when it's fucking Israel, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can't do that? You know what hurts academia? Bombing every fucking university in Gaza and killing virtually every professor in Gaza. And also, boycotting academics, for the record, is like a total, it's like the maximalist position. Okay? Sure, there's no academic boycott against Israeli academics. Fine, okay. That is an area where the university and the student protesters can reach a meaningful agreement. The major point here is divestment. Divestment from Israel. Any kind of victory that you get on that front is good. It's moving the needle in the right direction. I will never make good and perfect an enemy of good, okay? But these guys are not making any concessions whatsoever. And instead of making any concessions whatsoever, they are directly attacking those who are making very reasonable and moral demands. That's it. That's it. Yeah, Khafadar was on leave for the 2024-2025 academic year, by the way. Khashoggi, who also is affiliated with the anthropology department, is an Adams House faculty dean, has served the center's interim director in his absence. The apparent firings at Harvard are a notable move from Cutler, an economist who's only expected to hold a social science divisional deanship for one semester while Dean Lawrence D. Bobo is on leave. Cutler announced in an email to some center affiliates, which was obtained by the Crimson, that Khafadar would depart from the CMES directorship at the end of the year. Cutler thanked Khafadar for his work at CMES before asking colleagues to suggest potential candidates for his future leadership by April 16th. It's wild to me that you can be a straight up fucking neo-Nazi professor with a tenure and you will never have your position be called into question, but God forbid you have an accurate analysis of history in Israel as your job demands, as is quite literally your fucking job. That's the expectation. Then, you're done. You're out. It's so fucked up, dude. How do people not see this? How do people not see how fucking insane this is, dude? Yeah, you can be Alan Dershowitz. Harvard still has Alan Dershowitz as a professor emeritus. Like, he is he has permanent tenure, if I'm not mistaken, at Harvard. Alan Dershowitz, constitutional law scholar. Some of his formative work in terms of constitutional law was demanding that we lower the age of consent from a constitutional law argument, of course. From a constitutional framework, we must lower the age of consent. That is a real piece that he wrote, by the way. That's not even a fucking joke. Alan Dershowitz, who very famously defended Jeffrey Epstein, was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. That Alan Dershowitz. Yeah. Good friend to Jeffrey Epstein. The Professor Alan M. Dershowitz is a Brooklyn native who's been called the nation's most peripatetic civil liberties lawyer and is one of his most distinguished defenders of individual rights, the best-known criminal lawyer in the world, the top lawyer of last resort, America's most public Jewish defender, and Israel's single most visible defender, the Jewish state's lead attorney in the court of public opinion. Alan Dershowitz, while simultaneously talking about free speech as a constitutional law scholar, has actively worked against free speech. Alan Dershowitz probably loves all of these things that are happening in college campuses right now where, pro-Palestinian students and professors alike are being disappeared or fired from their positions. Alan Dershowitz famously, his famous contributions to the field of free speech and free association in academia especially, was to blacklist Norm Finkelstein, blackball him, and ruin his academic career for the crime of Norm Finkelstein calling out Alan Dershowitz's horrible, plagiarized book filled to the brim with faulty information about Israel. And then also destroying him on Democracy Now! That's what Norm did. It was crazy. When institutions are pro-Israel, it's so crazy. For example, FIFA banned Russia for invading Ukraine, banned Pakistan because they don't have fair democratic elections, and haven't banned Israel for their war crimes and for committing genocide. Yes, because Israel is an extension of America. Banning Israel is seen as like banning America from shit. And ain't nobody's moving to do that yet. It's funny, yeah, because Alan Dershowitz not only plagiarized this book defending Israel, but he plagiarized it from another book that also was just incorrect. The information was completely incorrect in the book that he plagiarized.